All right, good afternoon to everybody out there. I'm Tom, W5KUB, and this show is about ham radio. It's called Amateur Radio Roundtable, and I think we got some great things lined up for you tonight. We welcome you, especially if you're out there listening on international shortwave on WBCQ on 7490 kilohertz. We would like to ask you to send us an email, if you will. Send an email to tom@w5kub.com. tom@w5kub.com. Let us know where you are in the world and how you're hearing the station tonight. And just wanted to remind you that you can always join the show every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Now it's 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If you just go to w5kub.com, you can join the video show and join the chat room. Want to ask a big favor of everybody out there again. I need you, if you will, hit that subscribe button. I'll put the little flashing thing up there. There we go. We really need you to hit the subscribe button, if you will. It really helps us to promote our channel and bring in new people to our show there. Also, Facebook. We've got a great Facebook group. You know, for our group here. It's all about ham radio. We have about 12,000, a little over 12,000 people in it, and we'd love to have you join it. The simplest way to join it is just go to W5KUB, and you'll find it. Or you can type in Amateur Radio Roundtable, and you'll find it. But W5KUB will also get you there, and we'll approve you and get you right in. So if you're a shortwave listener out there, we'd love to have you too. Many of us got our start many years ago in shortwave listening. I still remember it today. That was some fun times that we had. Let's see. What else is going on here? Hey, we're going to have a big balloon launch tomorrow. We're going to do dual balloons tomorrow. I'll tell you more about that a little later. Also, I've got a segment tonight that gets into more detail on the remote base that I've been talking a little about, and I'll show that to you tonight. I think Glenn's going to talk a few minutes on the Jackson, Mississippi Ham Fest. We got Alan in here with TekTips. Alan's going to talk about transmission line links. I think that's the subject tonight. So we got a lot of things going. Man, a lot's going here. So let me jump around the room here real quick, and hey, Glenn, come on in here. Thanks for being with us. I know you're making a special trip tomorrow morning. Tell us about it.
Oh yeah, I am headed down to Orlando. Gonna do the hamcation. Going actually down a day early, so I'm gonna hook up with some old friends since I grew up down in that area. And from what I hear, we're gonna go spend Thursday on the beach.
Oh.
And then the ham, everybody else is going to do the ARRL sessions and stuff, and I'm going to have my sand on my feet in the beach sand. And then Friday and Saturday, of course, is the Ham Fest, and I'm doing a forum on Saturday morning, sometime Saturday, and going to be hanging out at the ARRL booth, signing my books and showing off calendars and whatnot.
All right. Well, hey, man, I wish we were going. We've just decided not to go. It is just so far to go down there, and we got so many things going. And maybe next year we'll get there. But
see, I'm flying. There's no way I could drive, and I just need the break, man. It is. Yeah. I feel like I've just been running on a hamster wheel since Christmas, and I'm just like right now. I'm in the last minute of packing, and you know how hectic that can get.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the minute I put my butt in that plane seat, I'm done.
Well, let me tell you, you got to get ready to fight. And because I remember the last time you and I went down there on the airplane, they had a cheerleading contest, a national cheerleading contest. And the plane was full of cheerleaders, and the airport was full of cheerleaders. And they took our baggage, mine and your baggage. They took it with all the girls, with all the cheerleaders, took our baggage to their hotels.
Yeah, and they took all of the plane's luggage, threw it on the bus, and it went to their hotel, and the airline had to get that all back.
And that was not a short wait either, you know.
Yeah.
Sorting through that and finding somebody that would get that luggage back for us. So, wow, that was something. Okay, who's going to take
we
care?
didn't get to
Who's
the
going
room
to take?
until dark 30.
Yeah. Have you got some friends going to come over and take care of the kitty cats while you're gone?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they just called on the phone, so I'm gonna have to go jump off and go talk to them a minute. I'll be back.
Okay, well, very good there. Well, let's jump over to Alan. Alan, how you doing tonight?
Oh, hanging in there. I was just going to tell Glenn that Brett in the chat said it's dangerous to be a hamster with all those big cats around. So, but he just left the room. But hey, we're doing okay. Work's been a little busy, so I missed last week. But interesting segment tonight. I got a lot of people that ask, what's the right length of coax or transmission line I should have between the radio and the antenna? And my usual answer is the one that's long enough to reach.
Yeah, that's usually what I do. I just whatever it takes, man. Yeah.
Right. So there's no magical lengths. There are some magical things that happen at certain lengths, but it really has no impact on things like SWR. So we'll talk about that and demonstrate that. I've got a short little 8-minute video that we'll play, and then we can chat about it afterwards. But otherwise, doing okay. Coming out of the deep freeze here in New Jersey, it was actually up in the 40s today, and we're supposed to get up in the upper 40s tomorrow. I'll certainly take that in the middle of February. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, we had that ice storm hit here last week, and usually when we have ice storms, we definitely lose power. And I think there's still people in Memphis that don't have power. I think 10% of the Memphis population still doesn't have power yet, but they were down several hundred thousand people for days. And I put that new generator in, got it all hooked to the natural gas and ready to go. And man, tree limbs are falling out there and everything. But we never had to go on backup power. And I knew that was going to happen. Once I put that generator in, we will never have an outage again.
Yeah, well, that's why even when we had the snow coming up here, I made sure to get the snowblower already in the garage ready to go, and that helped to keep it from being a big snow.
Oh, yeah. All right. Oh, man. All right. Well, let's see. I see a lot of our regulars in the chat room tonight, man. We appreciate everybody being with us tonight, and we're going to invite everybody into Zoom tonight. And let you just join us in the show tonight with Zoom. There's Bill joining us right now. Let's get Bill in here, and we'll probably open it up maybe within the hour. I think we'll be able to meet that time frame. So, Roundtable, Amateur Radio Roundtable, it's going to last about an hour. That way you don't get too bored if it's too long. And then we will have after that we go into a new show. It's called the After the Show Show. After the show, do we need a better name for that? Or would it sound better if we have show after the show or after the show? What do y'all think?
We'll come up with something after the show.
After the show. So anyway, we'll do that. We'll do that starting about 9:00 Central Time, and we'll have fun and let all the regulars and new people join us. Please connect in, even if you don't want to talk. Just connect in with us. And you are still being webcast on our YouTube channel when we're on the show after the show.
The late show.
Yeah, the late. It is the late for Alan for sure.
The after the QSO party.
Yeah. Well, hey, Bill just joined us there. Bill, somebody asked about the Zoom link. I will put the Zoom link in the chat room in about an hour, probably around 9:00. Bill, come on in here and tell us. Hey, did you get any ice down here this past week when we got ice here?
No, it was about 50 miles north of us. We just got piles of rain, and but no snow, no ice. Although it was kind of a freezing mist for a while. My place I was staying up in Ohio in Findlay, they had like a foot of snow during that storm, probably with the little ice thrown in. So. One of my friends in the chat room from Findlay, he might tell us just how much snow he got up there. That's John, WHJES. So I'm glad I escaped Ohio before that hit.
Yeah, let's see. Somebody said, "Oh, I got an arrow on your head. I got to move that." There we go. So, we're right on the very edge of western Tennessee, right at the Mississippi River. I don't know how to do this. And this ice storm, it just kind of came northeast, and it kind of went in a northeast direction. And here at my house, we were right on the edge of it. Now, Memphis got whacked pretty hard. I'm a little bit east of Memphis, but across the river, Arkansas, they declared that state an emergency, a state of emergency for all of Arkansas. I mean, it was really tough up through there and on into the northeast there. So I guess we lucked out and didn't have to run our generator. So that's good. I hear the building or the electrical inspectors coming by tomorrow to do a final inspection. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully you won't tell me to turn it off. All right. Well, let's see. Let's do this. Glenn, so you're going out of town, Glenn, and you're going to be our reporter down in Orlando and get pictures and video and talk to people for us. And also, I think tonight you want to show us a little film clip and talk a little about. You were at the Jackson, Mississippi Ham Fest a few weeks ago. You want to talk about that?
I think Glenn is still on the phone.
Oh, Glenn's on the phone. Okay.
I see his lips moving.
All right. Okay, I messed it up. Hey, I want to make one announcement. I'm not going to go much into this announcement. I really don't want to say much about it, but I think people should know if you don't know. Our friend down in Orlando, WX4 TV. You guys probably know him, and he went in for a mitral valve in his heart surgery about a month ago, and something went wrong during surgery, or something happened, and he was on life support for a month. He's been in a coma for a month, and he's come out of the coma. His lungs are messed up. His kidneys have basically stopped working, so they've got him on a dialysis. I think he's had a couple strokes. During this time, while they were trying to keep him alive on life support, both feet, I'll just use the word both feet went bad. I guess it's like, if your feet freeze or something. Anyway, today he had both feet amputated today. And his hands were also black, like his feet, but I don't know that they're going to do anything to his hands. But the guy's in really, really tough shape there. So, you guys just wanted you to know about that. That's James Lee down in Orlando, and they do the Shack in the Box. You probably have seen him at Hamfest, the Shack in the Box, and James has been on here with his kids before a number of times, and it's a great family. The entire family was homeschooled. All three of the kids, basically, they graduated college by the age of 16 and 17. They were taking college classes and high school at the same time, and they were homeschooled, and they actually had their college degree at 16 years old. So it's a great family. They're going through a really big tragedy right now, so didn't want to say a whole lot about it, but I wanted people to know what's going on down here. Anyway, let's go back to Glenn there. Glenn, you want to talk about Jackson, Mississippi?
I think he's still on the phone.
Is he still on the phone? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking over there across on the monitor, and I see him sitting there. But okay, yeah. I'll tell you what we'll do. Why don't we just jump into your segment?
Sure. And we'll talk. You just got to give me permission to share.
I will do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
I figured what we talk about is the effect of adding or removing transmission line length, whether it's ladder line length or coax, what effect it does have and what effect it doesn't have. maybe dispel some some myths and that type of a thing. I do have a little video. One of the things that I mentioned was that as you add or subtract transmission line length, it doesn't change the SWR, and the caveat to that is if the antenna you're using doesn't use the coax as part of its antenna system, as the counterpoise or as a radiating portion of the antenna, then changing the transmission line length doesn't matter. Obviously, if the coax is a part of the antenna system in terms of the radiating and input impedance, basically being a counterpoise and things like that, then it certainly will. But anyway, we can certainly chat about that. Tom, I just want to let you know. It looks like Glenn is back on. If you want to kind of go to that first, then we
can do yours.
Whichever you want to do.
We can do yours first. You're on Eastern time. You're on Eastern time, and it gets late here for you early.
All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share a video here to start with. I'm going to do a quick little test because what I want to do is mute my microphone and share the video's audio, and I'll stop it and then ask if you can actually hear it. So I just want to make sure that if I mute my microphone, that it doesn't mute the sound from the video as well. So let me bring this up here and share. And what I'll do is I'm going to mute myself now and start playing, and I'll play it for a second or two and then stop and ask. Here we go.
In this video, we're going to take a look at what happens when we add transmission line between a transmitter and an antenna.
So we're able to hear the sound from the video?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let me mute myself again so you don't get an echo, and here we go.
I'll give you the answer very quickly, and then we'll actually go look at why, and actually go make some measurements and show it. But the quick three-part answer is that the SWR does not change as you add or subtract transmission line length between your transmitter and the antenna. And of course, this is assuming that the line is not part of the antenna. And many times that's not the case. Oftentimes the shield of the coax becomes part of the counterpoise system for the antenna, so changing the line length may have some effect on SWR. But if the line is completely not part of the antenna, the SWR will not change. We'll show you why in a moment. However, the impedance looking into the line does change as you change the line length. So you could say, how does the impedance change without the SWR change? Well, we'll take a look at this on the Smith chart, the perfect tool to look at this, and we'll show you why. Now, the other thing that people get surprised at is that the apparent resonant frequencies of the antenna can move around as you add or subtract line length. And of course, that's assuming that the resonant point is not at the perfect center of the Smith chart right at 50 ohms. Now remember that resonance is only defined as when the impedance is purely resistive. There's no reactive component. So that could appear, it could be 40 ohm resistive, 55 ohm resistive, 100 ohm resistive, etc. All those are resonant points. But also it's important to remember that the resonant point is not always where you have the lowest SWR. So don't confuse the lowest SWR or the minimum in the SWR as being the resonant point of the antenna, because that's not always the case. Now here's a simple plot of, say, a fictitious antenna with some starting line length, and plotting the impedance on a Smith chart from low frequency to high frequency. And I've just highlighted 3 points on that chart. So let's take a look at the impedance looking into the end of a line after we add about 1/10 of a wavelength of transmission line. Now our assumptions here are that we're dealing with lossless line and that the line is not a significant part of the antenna. When we add or subtract transmission line, we're effectively rotating impedance around the center of the Smith chart, assuming that the center of the Smith chart is equal to Z0, or the characteristic impedance of the line. So if we take our original 3 points and this curve of our original sweep of the antenna, we essentially can draw these imaginary circles centered at the Z0 point for each of those points. These circles are known as constant SWR circles. As we add or subtract line length, the impedance represented by any point on the curve rotates around its own constant SWR circle. When we add line length, we rotate clockwise. We subtract line length, we rotate counterclockwise. The outer axes of the Smith chart are actually calibrated in length of line in wavelengths. You can see there they both show 0.25 over here. This one here is decreasing. This one here is increasing. At this end of the chart, we see they're both at 0. What this indicates is one complete trip around the Smith chart is equal to a half a wavelength in line. So what that means is that if you use a transmission line that's exactly a half wavelength long at your operating frequency, the impedance looking into the line is exactly the same as the impedance looking into the antenna directly. At any other line length that is not an even half wavelength multiple, you're going to have an impedance that is not the same as the impedance looking into the line. But as we mentioned, the SWR does not change because we're simply rotating around these constant SWR circles. So let's take our example of adding a tenth of a wavelength to the line length. So we start with point A, we can bring that out to the outer axis, add a tenth of a wavelength to, we see we're a little bit past 0.22, we'll rotate down to a little bit past 0.32, and that's our new point for the impedance at that frequency looking into the transmission line. We do the same thing for point B. We rotate about a tenth of a wavelength out this way, and that's our new point for B, and do the same thing for point C and pick our new point for C. Now you noticed each time I said we're rotating about a tenth of a wavelength, and the reason for that is that that transmission line is only going to be a tenth of a wavelength at one frequency. Let's say it was at frequency for A. When we go up to frequency B, the higher frequency means a shorter wavelength, so that fixed line length is going to be electrically a little bit longer than a tenth. We go up again to a higher frequency C, that line length is going to be a little bit longer again than a tenth. So the effect is the curve rotates around and stretches slightly because we're going to be the higher frequencies are going to rotate further around the chart. So you do get a slight change in the shape of the curve just because the line length in terms of the number of wavelengths changes with frequency as well. And again, this is assuming a lossless transmission line. If there were losses, these circles actually start to spiral inwards, and also assumes that, again, that the line is not a significant part of the antenna. So let's go take a look at this with a VNA and see what we're talking about. So here's our starting point. I've got a 20-meter vertical antenna hooked up through a piece of coax to the VNA. We can see the SWR plot here, minimum SWR at about 14.245 megahertz, and then this is our curve of the complex impedance of that antenna, sweeping from 13.7 to 14.7 megahertz. Now in my case here, the coax shield is a small portion of the counterpoise for the antenna, so you may notice a small shift in the lowest SWR point as we start adding coax length. Now I've added about 36 inches, or just under 1 meter of RG8X coax, which at 14.2 megahertz represents about 0.056 wavelengths of line length. So you notice that our whole curve has rotated slightly clockwise around the center of the Smith chart. You'll also notice that we actually cross the center axis of the Smith chart twice. There's actually two resonant points. And again, resonance doesn't mean minimum SWR. Resonance just means that we have no reactance. I've just added a second 36-inch or about 1 meter long length of line, and we can see we've rotated that curve a little bit further. And again, our SWR curve has not changed. Now this is after adding another 36-inch length of coax, and we've rotated our curve a little bit further. Again, you'll notice there's a slight change in the shape of this curve because the line length in terms of number of wavelengths is a little different for each of the frequencies along this curve. But you also notice again that the SWR plot really has not changed. So let's play each of those four scenarios out in unison. I'll just merge from one to the other and you can visualize how this curve is rotating around. This was our starting point. This is after adding one section of 36-inch line, or about 1 meter of line length. This is with an additional 6 feet or just under 2 meters of additional coax. Now this is after adding another 36-inch length. So I hope this video has taught you a little bit about what happens when you add or subtract line length between a transmitter and an antenna. Now of course, if the antenna is perfectly matched to the transmission line, meaning its impedance equals the transmission line impedance, then the line length doesn't matter a bit. But if the antenna is not a perfect 50 ohms, it's somewhere else in complex impedance, the impedance looking into that line will change with line length, but the SWR will not, provided that the line itself is not part of the antenna system. So again, I hope you learned something. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up.
All right.
All right.
I
Well,
thought that was kind of interesting. It was a fun experiment to run to kind of prove how all that works. And like I said, the key is that if the coax length is not a part of the antenna, it doesn't really affect SWR. But what's interesting is people will say, well, my auto tuner has trouble tuning an antenna, but if I add 3 feet of coax, then it tunes it fine. And it's not, and the reason for that is that it's not changing the SWR that the tuner is seeing, but it is changing the complex impedance that the tuner is seeing. And the tuner might have an easier job tuning out a certain amount of inductive or capacitive reactance, but have a harder time with other values of inductance and reactance. It may have a good time tuning one spot on that circle, a constant SWR circle, but have a difficult time at the other. So what you're doing is rotating the impedance around that constant SWR circle and into a spot that might be more favorable for the components that are in that tuner. So that's kind of why that happens too. So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting experiment, and hopefully some people got something out of it. So.
Well, someday I'm gonna have to try lengthening or shortening my coax.
Okay. Because I know in my case, I've got a ladder line fed untuned dipole. I've got a 130-foot dipole that snakes around along the property, not resonant anywhere. I mean, doesn't have a low SWR anywhere except oddly on 17 meters. It's about 1.6 to 1 or 1.5 to 1, but everywhere else it's quite high. And there are a couple of bands where if I've got a little like 2 or 3 foot section of ladder line that I insert in line, and it makes my auto tuner work better on that frequency, and I pull it out for other frequencies. Just again for the same reason, it's rotating the impedance around to another point that is more favorable for the design of my tuner. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, and let's see if there's any questions in the chat room there. Anybody have any questions about Alan's segment there? And I still got to learn how to use that VNA, man. Yeah, you're so good with that VNA there.
Yeah, I don't see any questions on there, so either everybody got it or...
Now, here's one.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
Well, if you've got it, go ahead.
Yeah, this says, so the question for those that are in the chat, if you're adding links to the coax, do the connectors make a change as well? Well, it's a good question. And for HF operating, which is what I do, the effect of connectors is pretty minimal. In my case, it's ladder line, so it's just little banana jacks. In the case of coax, if you've got decent quality connectors on your coax, you're going to get more, not going to get so much of an impedance bump as you are maybe just a little bit of loss, but it's pretty negligible at HF frequencies. So it really doesn't matter that much.
Charlie's mentioning a discussion about Collins amplifiers and coax between the rig and the amplifier. Not sure how that plays into this discussion. That's really...
Yeah,
well, that shortens the length.
The impedance of the amplifier is matched, then the length shouldn't matter. So,
okay.
But then again, if depending on what you're feeding that the 30L1 with, so you're feeding it from a 30S1. I'm assuming a 30S1 is a hybrid rig or maybe an all tube rig, and you're probably going to adjust the output tank circuit on that anyway. So that makes it a little bit less important for the input impedance of a 30L1 to be matched to 50 ohms. So in that case, I could see how the length of coax between the transmitter and the amplifier would cause you to have to retune the output tank circuit on the or the Pi network on the transmitter. But I don't know enough about the 30L1 to say that's what's going on for sure.
Well, man, that brings me back. 30L1 amplifier. I thought the 30S1 was what? There's two amplifiers. The 30, I think is the 30L1 the smaller Collins amp, and I thought
I don't know. I guess From the way that Charlie phrased that question,
Yeah.
I was assuming that the 30S one was a transmitter, but
It
maybe not.
seems like it might be in his statement here. I was just trying to think, what's the other Collins amp? I want the big one that sits on the floor. It's the I thought that was a 30L one. I may be wrong, but good question, Charlie. Hope.
Yeah, I see. Mike Fikes has got a question. Is there anything at all special about resonance, or is it simply resistive and just another impedance with no real consequence? Well, it is resistive. Generally, if you're looking at tuned networks and things like that, it's probably easier to do an impedance match to a resistive impedance as opposed to something that's reactive. But there isn't a huge consequence with having something reactive if you're going to put some kind of an impedance matching network there anyway. But it really is just a matter of, if you've got an impedance that's purely, is largely reactive, then, in effect, there's really no power. It will be less power dissipation, real power dissipation there. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is trying to deliver power to that complex load. So you're essentially adjusting what's called a complex conjugate so that you're reflecting energy back at essentially the opposite phase angle. So you try to deliver as much of that energy as possible to the load.
All right, Charlie gave us the info. The 30S1 is the big amplifier. He said that's the father of all amps. That's the one I want. That thing's got a tube in there. That thing's got a ceramic tube in there about this big around, man. Oh, man. That's a nice
thing.
amp.
While you were talking about the connectors affecting the length of coax, this is a myth that's been propagated forever. We figure we might as well go ahead and dispel this as part of this whole discussion. You do not lose 3 dB when you go through a connector. And if you think about that, if you're running full 1500 watts legal limit and you lose 3 dB, half your power, that little coupler is dumping 750 watts. I don't think so. I don't think so. No, they've actually done tests, and the loss between connectors, and we're talking, they've strung 20 and 30 couplers together, and the loss is negligible until you get up into the microwave frequencies.
Glenn, if it's glowing cherry red, then maybe you've got a problem.
Well, what? No, because you remember the tubes always worked best when they were glowing blue on the plate. You knew you were getting out then. Yeah.
The connector is glowing red.
Yeah. But no, that is a myth, and it's been propagated forever that every time you use a coupler, you lose 3 dB, and that's just not true.
All right. Hey, thanks, Alan.
Sure. Hopefully we dispelled a couple of myths with
Alan, you got
antennas and connectors.
I think we're going to have Hambot here with us next week. You've got some books or something to give away, don't you?
Yeah, I got a couple of things that we'll try to give away next week. I've got a couple of ARRL books here. I've got a handbook. I might have got an antenna book and a couple of others here.
Yeah. Hey, so the handbook and the antenna book are both nice books to have.
Oh yeah.
So
very cool.
We'll be giving those away on the show here soon.
Maybe we'll even throw in a Yaesu hat with it.
Yeah. All right. I usually collect at these ham fests. I collect so many hats. Kathy usually about every couple of years cleans the closets out and gives away nearly all my hats. I'll keep 8 or 10, but she'll give away maybe 40 or 50 hats. And
I'm the other way around, man. I'll get one hat and I'll wear that thing until it literally falls off my head.
Well, I could have an Icon baseball team and a Yaesu baseball team and, Gigaparts baseball team, but, oh, man. And I usually give them to people, a lot of people really enjoy getting them,
Well, every year Yaesu comes out with a new hat to, give out. I always get mine at Dayton and or Huntsville.
Yeah. Well, half the time I'm too busy to go get a hat.
So the one I got here is from the radio conference from 2018, and brand new, never been worn.
Yeah, I've got a few like that. Yeah, that's cool. All right, I tell you what, let's take just a quick, short 1 minute break or so, and we'll be right back. And Glenn, we're going to talk next about Jackson, Mississippi Hamfest, I think.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back in a minute, guys. Didn't get everything on your holiday list? Now is the time to spice up your ham shack with ICOM's new ID52A handheld. This radio is perfect for staying in or venturing out. The ID52A is now shipping. ICOM's newest handheld amateur radio is a VHF-UHF dual bander with D-Star and FM dual mode functions. This radio supports conventional FM communications and D-Star simplex and worldwide calls over the D-Star Internet Gateway. The ID52A is the first handheld amateur radio with a full-color 2.3-inch waterfall display and the ability to send photos over D-Star with a connected Android phone. Features include a wideband receiver with guaranteed range of 144 through 148 and 440 through 450 megahertz. It has an integrated GPS receiver, including grid square location. It also has a micro USB for data transfer, programming, and charging, and it's IPX7 waterproof. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
All right, and we are back, and we're going to be going down with Glenn to the Jackson, Mississippi Hamfest. But first, let me also remind everybody, this is important, go by and see ICOM's booth at Hamcation 2022 down there. They're going to have a big booth. Go by and see it. Tell Ray Novak hello for us, and we couldn't make it this year, but we'll see him. We'll see him up at Xenia in May. All right, Glenn. Let's talk the Jackson, Mississippi. I haven't been down there in a few years. How was it this past year?
Well, believe it or not, it was temperature-wise not as cold as St. Louis, but from feels like temperature, it was about 35 below zero.
Oh, was that inside the building?
No, this was outside, loading in from the parking lot, just literally walking across the parking lot with no gloves on, both hands froze.
Oh, man.
But inside, no, it was great. This is an all-new venue. They tore down the old Trade Mart and built a new one. And you almost can't tell the difference once you get inside, other than the fact that everything's new. And it was a really nice facility. I enjoyed it.
Now the facility, you're talking about a hotel, right?
No, I'm talking about the
Hamfest itself?
The Hamfest itself. Oh. Remember they had it at the Trade Mart down there?
Yeah, it had two rooms kind of separated with a wall between them. Okay.
They crushed that building and replaced it with a parking lot.
Oh, okay.
And now the Hamfest building, the Trade Mart, is adjoining the Coliseum that was across the parking lot. So now it's joined up to the Coliseum that's on there on the grounds.
All right. Well, look, hey, I got your video you shot. You shot about 4 or 5 little short 45-second, 1-minute videos. I put them all together. So this is kind of a walk around, and you might recognize somebody. You might recognize a friend there, or somebody may see themselves. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on, Glenn, and you can just talk over it and tell us what we're looking at there. All right. All right.
Yeah, this is looking across the entire hall, and you can see it's pretty much about the same size as the Winterfest in St. Louis the week before. Had several good vendors there. They had a pretty good turnout table-wise and attendance-wise. I chose a time when things were a little slow to get the video in. But there's a lot of good stuff there. And we're going to walk up and down the aisles here in a minute and take a look at some of the cool stuff. I'm already dizzy.
Yeah. That guy doesn't
Nice
have much.
HP.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't show up for the tables, but
Uh huh.
there was still a lot of good stuff there. This guy has just about a little bit of everything.
I'm noticing down here and in a lot of places, the masking is going away. People are taking back, I guess, their life, and it doesn't seem to make any difference whether they're masking or not.
Yeah, it's about 50-50. There's some TI 99 4s.
Yeah.
Remember those. And, but yeah, of course, the ever-present tube vendors. And it's amazing that they're still there and they're still doing good business, which is great because I need some tubes from time to time on various projects. There's your bird watt meter.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of 11 meter gear here this weekend. Yeah, more power to them, I guess. A lot of good junk, a lot of old Radio Shack bits and pieces. You can see how nice and clean the floors are.
I was noticing that. Yeah, this is a different place than I was at last time.
Yeah, there's your climbing belt,
Yeah.
Tom, for when you need to get up on the flat part of your roof.
I see that. Yep.
But like I say, to me, it's just fun getting out and about and meeting friends and just
Yeah.
relaxing for a day. Just, in my case, I was sitting at the table most of the day. So, I was off my feet, just chilling and relaxing and talking with folks and not in any kind of a hurry at all. And to me, that was some of the most fun, was just relaxing and having fun again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you say, most people weren't wearing masks. It was pretty much optional. And, that's the way it should be, in my opinion. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to have to wear a mask end to end.
On the airplane.
In the minute I step into the airport and the minute I step out of the airport. So,
Yeah.
but that's the cost of flying these days. Guy had, of course, a lot of good used computers there at a good price. Guy down a little further had a whole set of the Yaesu original FT101s. Mm-hmm. And boy, it was so hard not to grab one of those. But again, I'm trying to clean out space to make space for new. And I have a very limited amount of space right now. The one thing that wasn't there, of course, MFJ was not there. And there was no big vendors like ICOM or Yaesu or Gigaparts. I just saw on one of my feeds today, by the way, that Chip Margelli is going to be down there at Orlando.
Yeah, MFJ is going to be there. I've talked to Martin and Richard.
I'm looking forward to seeing Martin and Richard down there.
They'll be down there. Mm-hmm.
And but lot of good stuff in Jackson. I mean, it was a little sparse table wise.
Oh, look at it. Yeah. I love those capacitors.
Tons of capacitors,
Yeah,
the variable caps for building your own little loop antenna and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one vendor they did have was an MFJ distributor. And, so it was, they had a lot of good stuff. Now, this is the jewelry. And I need to find that person's card because you have some still shots in a minute. But we've got some still shots of this jewelry, and it's just absolutely amazing what this lady has done.
And electronic parts?
She takes electronic parts and turns them into jewelry. And we're talking the old double
on Tuesday.
Double EPROMs and
Tag,
stuff.
you're it.
Oh yeah, people were trying to charge me for taking their pictures. We see how far that went. I think I carried around a couple.
One guy got mad at me one time. He told me he was in a witness protection program.
Man, I told him not for long. But it was a good ham fest. Lots of good and unique stuff there. And I mean, a lot. Simply put, there was a lot of new junk that I hadn't seen before in the Jackson Ham Fest. And some Collins gear, and I think this guy right around the corner is the one that had the Yaesu on our left. That was as we come around this corner. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I'll sit there. Nice.
It's got a pair of them. There's the 101 double E.
It's a chrome plated case.
Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous looking radio.
Oh, SP amplifier.
There's your old Heathkit SB, yeah. Your rotators, of course. Just all kinds of good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I apologize for it bouncing around. That's what you get when you have me walking with a cell phone. I don't have Tom's Steadicam way to do it. Now, Orlando, man, that's going to be totally different because Orlando is huge.
It's going to be packed too inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the swamp area, though, and the weather is supposed to be perfect. It was raining today. The rain is supposed to stop tomorrow morning. And from there on out, it's going to be nice and sunny. The temperatures in the day are going to be in the 60s and 70s. So it's just going to be absolutely perfect weather for the Ham Fest this weekend. And there's the sign guy with all of his cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's literally about the same size as Jackson has always been. It's just the totally
big,
new
yeah.
venue. There's your Collins.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
Good Collins stuff. Somebody had a whole bunch of DVDs and stuff. Yeah, I'm ready to get back down to Orlando, man. It's just amazing. Yeah.
Now, this guy had a lot of stuff here.
This was my favorite table.
Yeah.
I mean,
Send your
yeah,
email
he
to
had.
Tom, KW5KUB. He'll handle it.
Yeah, that's the one that wanted me to pay, and I said just send the bill to Tom.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, one of those Turner Plus 2, that hammer tone blue microphone. I got one of those on my.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, that was exciting. That ham fest. That's about, I don't know, how long does it take to drive down there? 3.5 hours.
Right at 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. It'd take me about 4 from here, but
Now, did you have any of those still shots queued up?
I do not have them. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, let me just give you this so people can go maybe to her website. Her name is transistorsister.com.
All right.
And she takes all kinds of electronic jewelry and turns it into earrings and just beautiful, beautiful jewelry. And we're talking, if you remember the old 2702 double E proms with the glass cover for the UV light to erase it. And she's taken all that out and exposed all of the insides and shined it up. I mean, this stuff was just absolutely gleaming. And it was just really, really cool stuff. Her name is Susan Gradzalewski. And again, I almost said twistedsister.com, but it's transistorsister.com.
Oh, all right. Well, we got to get that straight.
And go to that website and check some of that stuff out. If I had somebody to buy stuff for, I probably would have bought everything she had on the table.
All right.
Yeah, but since the cats don't wear jewelry, it's saved me a lot of money.
All right. Well, let's move on. I got a couple things here to do, and I want to talk with Bill here in a minute. I got a couple questions for Bill.
Well, that jewelry would be really cool if it was actually functional.
Yeah, maybe.
Some of it may still be, but I mean,
Well, it needs to have
It's
little
amazing.
LEDs and light or something, blink or something,
Yeah. Oh, she could probably do it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, look, hey, let's do this. I've been telling everybody that I was going to give them a little bit more information on the Pocket RXTX, the remote base that I've set up here. And so I threw a little video together this afternoon. Let me play it for you, and then I'll answer a few questions. And then I've got to get into some serious stuff. I got some questions for Bill there about our balloon launch tomorrow, and some concerns I've got. So let's move on into this remote base, and let's take a look at this. Hey, I'm Tom, W5KUB, and have you ever wanted to have all your ham shack equipment in your car or truck, or maybe at your vacation home or on vacation somewhere? Well, we all know that's impossible. I've got, 1,000 wires back there, and somehow they always get so tangled, it takes me hours to untangle them. But I've got a solution for you. We can, for free, we can do a remote base of a radio. And I have dedicated one radio just to a remote base. Or you could use any radio. Let's go over and look at it. So what I'm going to talk about here is a program called Pocket RXTX, and I've used it about a year ago, and I've just now reinstalled it. And I'm going to keep it for my remote base. This application was built by Dan Toma, Y03GGX, a friend of mine in Romania. And it's very simple. You just load a Java client on your PC, which I will open right here. And it opens up. And this is your configuration screen. It's very simple. Very simple. First of all, you look up your IP address for the PC that's running, and it's going to show right here. So that's good. You've got to know what COM port you're hooked to on your computer, and then select that. Right now, I am on COM 17. That's where my computer is talking to this program. So you can select your COM ports. I'm on COM 17. The baud rate, of course, has to be set the same as the baud rate in your radio for it to communicate. And that's about it. It operates on port 7048, and that's really about it. I'm using cat control, and we're going to just start the program up. Well, I think I've got it on auto start, so the program has already started. Okay, now let's come back and look at how this thing works. Let's look at how it works. So I've got a tablet right here, and I'm going to open up the Pocket RXTX. And first of all, it opens it with a couple different things here. This can tune in SDR receivers, which not even connected to your home radio, or you can use it as a remote base. Today I'm going to show you how to use it as a remote base. So here we go, remote base. Now the setup in here is pretty simple. In the setup, you just select the type of radio you're using. I'm going to use the TS 570. The TS 570 right here. And once you set this radio, then all the commands it sends to the radio are proper, and they will control the radio. So let's start the program up. All right, so that's what it looks like, and we're going to hold the on button down. And, well, it says connected, but I forgot to do something. Let me turn some power on here. All right, I've got some power on. So you can see, I'll turn the volume down a little. You can see right now the display showing 7150, 7150. All right, let's see what we can find. Let's see if we can tune someone in with it. Let's see. Let's look at. We can either tune with the tuning knob right here. You can see it tuning both the radio and this. Or we can touch up here and we can key in the frequency. I'm going to key in 7240. 7.240. Enter. And there we go. We've got somebody. So we got somebody on 7240. Let's look at 7250. I think there was somebody up on 7250 a minute ago. Oh, there's somebody there. A little weak. Let me come back down. So very simple. You got a few controls here. For instance, you control the mode right now. We're in lower sideband. We're in lower sideband, so you can just select upper sideband, lower sideband. Since we're on 40 meters, we'll select upper sideband. You can tune your antenna tuner in your radio, or turn your attenuation on, noise blinkers. You can do all sorts of things with it. If you want to change bands, it's pretty simple. We hit band, and we're going to select, say, 20 meters. And let's go to 14208. Okay, now we got to go to upper sideband. There we go.
And they did a video on him. He had 16 heart attacks.
There we go.
15 times he died. And they recovered with it. This one guy, I guess it was in Switzerland or someplace. He went to school. He went to college with Kim
Okay.
Jong-un. And I guess,
So that is going to show you, and you can see, you know, the radio screen and the tablet match up. So you can see it's a kind of a neat little app. This app is actually free, and it will put a little advertisement down there. Or if you want to pay for the full version, I think it's like $1.50 or maybe $2 for the full version, and you can get it on Play Store. It works on Android only, so you're gonna have to have an Android device like a tablet or a phone. So let's do this. I'm gonna turn it off here. Okay, I've got it off. And I'm going to bring it up on my telephone just to show you how simple it is. I have walked around the neighborhood with an earbud in here and making contacts on my phone. So let's just do this. Let's open it up real quick. And we're going to open up the app right here. It looks just like it did on the tablet. We're going to hit start. There it is. So we're going to hold the on button down. It's sending encryption. All right, we've connected. Let's turn it this way. Yeah. Everything works the same. And if you want to change bands, you hit the band button, select your band, change to lower upper sideband, and let's go to 14280. Okay, did you hear anybody there? Let's see. Okay, I don't know where people are right now, but they're on 20. I listened a minute ago, and 20 was working pretty good. Here we go.
He did. He wouldn't know he did.
Good thing we got rid of them because now look how well we are.
14208, 14208.
Things are beautiful.
Now, the interesting thing is, let me get off frequency a little. All right, I'm going to transmit. When I hit the transmit button, if I hit the transmit button, you'll notice the Java applet up here. It's going to change colors. Watch. I'm going to hit the push to talk. So each time I hit the push to talk here, it controls the radio. Now, let's just test to see if what it does to the radio down here. I'm going to talk into my phone here. Test 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. See, you can zoom in right there. Test 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Okay, so let me ID. This is Whiskey 5 Kilo Uniform Bravo testing. Okay, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So let me turn it off. It's off. Now, you notice my power supply and the radio are still on, right? Now, you don't want to leave that on day and night forever, and especially if you're away from home and the antenna's connected. If you have a lightning storm nearby, just a surge, you come down the antenna and wipe the radio out. If you remember, I talked earlier about building a little control box. Basically, I came off the RS-232 cable with, I think I used request to send or DTR, and I used that to key a little relay inside this box. So when the program was up, we had power, we had the antenna switch, but I think with this version of software I've just downloaded, I can't easily do that anymore. So there's a simple solution, and Kathy came up with it for me. Have you guys seen, do you know what a Wemo is? There you go. There's a Wemo. These things are running, how much they run, Kathy? $15? Maybe $15, $20. But it's just a Wemo, and it's a Wi-Fi control switch. So I have one right here. I have it here, and I have my power supply plugged into it. So I'm going to go to my phone. I'm going to go to my phone here, and I'm going to just bring the Wemo app up. So there's my Wemo app right there. And if you'll notice, watch the radio here. Right now I'm on Wi-Fi. I'm gonna turn the power supply off. It turned the radio off. It turned the power supply off. Let's turn it back on. That's all it takes to turn your radio back on and off. And so I will plug this box into the Wemo, and the Wemo then will turn power on or off to the receptacle. And this receptacle will power the power supply. And then in addition, I will bring the antenna in here and out of here to the radio, and the other part of the relay will be grounded. So when the power is off, the relay disconnects the antenna from the radio and grounds the antenna. This is just you can use any kind of relay for HF, the little two wiper relay, or just about any relay you can use. This is actually a coaxial relay that came out of an old VHF radio, I think, and it was 12 volts. So I put a little 12 volt wall wart transformer in here. It's on the AC, and it's hooked to this relay. So when I turn power on with the Wemo, it puts power here, it puts power on the relay, and that switches the antenna, it switches the radio on. And that's about it. So I'll post the links to this, but if you just do a search for Pocket RX-TX, you'll find it. Oh, let me say I'm using version 3. There is a Java client out there called JAREC version 4 right here. Now, it is only compatible with the Pocket RX-TX version 3. Now, you can run this in the version 3 compatibility mode, but I just decided to just use the version 3 Java here. So that's about it. Hope I brought some interesting points to you, and if you have any questions, be glad to answer them. Thanks. All right, so that's kind of, I just wanted to see. Oh, wait a minute, let me stop it. We can't have that. I just wanted to see kind of what it's doing, and I'm putting this thing back together. I've tried mobile in my truck. I get all kinds of noise. You got to have a big antenna on there, and then even when you have a big antenna, you're driving down the road and your antenna is like 8 foot tall. Well, this way, I can drive down the road and I can have an antenna up 60 feet in the air. You know, a full antenna. You know, a Delta loop, whatever I want. And what I'm using on this radio right now, I've got a off-center fed out there on this radio, which will work 80 through 6 meters. So I can band hop real easy, 80, 40, 20, you know, and just not have to worry about switching the antenna. Someone asked about, don't I need a metal box? That relay is a self-contained coaxial relay. It's all metal from the antenna connection to the other two ports, and I ground one of the other ports there it just grounds into it. It's kind of a safety precaution. If you get a direct hit, it's going to go through any kind of relay, believe me, if you get a direct hit. But let's say you get a hit in your neighbor's yard or down the street and you get a big lightning surge. With that antenna disconnected and grounded, it's going to protect your radio. So that's one of the things. Now, it's a little bit more work to make it work from outside on the internet. You can easily make it work on your internal LAN. But you've got to realize, I don't know how much people have various levels of skills on LAN, but you got your internal LAN addresses, which are usually something like 192.168 or 10.0 or something like that, and your ISP gives you one public IP address. So to get to it from outside, you got to do a little bit of extra work. I run a service called No IP, and No IP can run a little client on any PC in your house. And what it does, anytime your ISP changes the IP address for your house, this thing will update the No IP address. So I have a No IP address, and you can request different addresses. It's very cheap. There's a free version, or you can pay a little bit for a paid version, and you get something like your call letters .noip.com, and so if you're out traveling, you just go to w5kub.noip.com, and it's going to take me right to that machine right there where my remote base is. Now, you got to do one other thing. This is using port 7048, so you got to go into your router and you got to set up port forwarding, and you might need a little help with that. I'm sure there's people here that can help you with that. But you get the IP address of the PC that is running your remote base, and you set up port forwarding. You forward port 7048 to that IP address. So anytime my Pocket RxTX outside tries to come in, it comes into public address. It always knows my public address. And then once it gets inside my internal LAN network, it knows port 7048 goes to that computer right there, and it turns it on. So there's a lot to play with there. It's neat. I don't have to worry about my car being broken into. I don't have to worry about somebody stealing the radio out of my car. If I go to our home over in North Carolina, I don't have to put up antennas and carry radios. I can carry my tablet with me. It's just kind of a cool thing. And a lot of times we go somewhere in my wife's car, and she would not want a big antenna on her car, So anyway, that's kind of the story on Pocket RxTX. You can go to Dan's site, Y03GGX is his call letters, Y03GGX in Romania, and you can download that Java applet, that Java app from his website. It's free. And then you can go on Play Store or your Android store, and you can download the Pocket RxTX program. Again, there's a free one. If you want the pro version, it's about $1.50 or $2 at the max if you want the pro version. So that's kind of where we are with that. Let's see. What else were you going to talk about? Okay. Well, hey, we're running just a little bit late for the regular show. The show after show will start in a few minutes. But I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and post the Zoom link in the chat room where people can start attending. And I want to bring Bill Brown in. I got some questions for Bill, and I've got some questions and concerns about a launch tomorrow. There's a Zoom link. If you guys want to click on that, you can join us and be part of the show. And we'd love to have you just come in and join us here. All right.
Jump out 'cause I got to go walk the dog and then an early day at work tomorrow. So,
okay.
Good to see everybody tonight, and we'll hopefully see you next week.
Well, very good, Alan. And I'm trying to get them out. There we go. Okay. Good night, and thank you so much for being with us tonight. We'll see you next week.
I also wanted to mention, unless you mentioned it at the beginning of the show, Tom, that Bob Reninga, WB4APR, Mr. APRS, has passed away.
Oh, man, I did not know the Hevet news. Thanks for sharing that.
Wow, I signed books with him at the last Dayton Ham Fest.
Yep, I last saw him at the last Dayton Ham Fest, and apparently he's been battling cancer and also COVID. So he just passed away yesterday, from what I just got from the AMSAT news service, and from a friend of mine that talked to his daughter. And that's pretty sad because
it is.
He was a true pioneer.
He has done a lot for ham radio, and particularly the modes that we're running now, where we need that weak signal. It's amazing how it works. All right, so let's see. I think we got somebody in the waiting room. Let me look. Yeah, we got somebody in the waiting room. If I don't get you right off, I will get you in here. Hey, Bill, I got a question for you. Build up 2 trackers. We're going to have 2 launches tomorrow. We're going to launch an SBS balloon, and we're going to launch a dual Chinese balloon. Bill, I think one of my trackers is acting up a little bit. I am getting decodes. I'm getting both telemetry signals. I am, but it's kind of hit and miss. In between, there's 3 or 4 times I might miss a data, well, maybe the second data transmission or something. Now, Bill, I am seeing, and I don't have an antenna on my Whisper receiver here because I'm receiving the trackers that are here in my shack or outside. Bill, I'm seeing a GD2 RRK reporting, and I don't know what that is, and it's in FA. It's in FA 55. Now, I'm Echo Mike 55.
That's usually just a garbage call that sometimes gets through. It can be anything, but if it's a real weird call with a real out there grid square, then it's just random noise that got decoded.
And I'm missing some stuff, but I've got to take the chance. I'm ready. We're all set for this launch tomorrow, and
sometimes what you see, if you have a time correction clock service like I used to mention 4 on older PCs, and every 10 minutes it resets your clock to make it accurate. And now Windows 10 now has a service that updates as well in the background. It's kind of hard to get to. It's several layers deep, but if you click on the time and click a few clicks and find the internet time, then you can set it manually, or you can set it up automatically. But whenever it does that correction, if it happens to be in that one time stamp time window for your telemetry call or your regular call, and it happens to adjust the time during that, WSJT-X doesn't like it, and it will not report.
Well, I'm glad to hear that other people have kind of seen that. I don't know. I still... the
older WSPR program, the original one, which I also use, It doesn't have that issue.
Okay. All right. So I had difficulty running both trackers since they're, in the same time slot, basically. I mean, both of them here, it's kind of like I've got a certain bandpass on my receiver, and if both of them are hammering it, whoever's the strongest is going to win out. How far apart are they? Maybe 80 cycles apart?
They're 100 hertz apart, which is quite a bit of a distance. You can actually be about 4 hertz apart and still get 2 to decode. Well, maybe 6. But what I generally do is I put an attenuator in if it's so strong, even with an antenna not hooked up. Just put an attenuation on it and get it down so that it's a weak signal.
Yeah, I don't even have an antenna hooked at all to my Whisper receiver, and I didn't put much antenna out. I didn't put much out on the trackers. They're all rolled up, but still, I could tell one basically is interfering a little with the other. If I turn one off, the other one will start working much better, and vice versa, But once we get them launched, and they're a half a mile apart or something, different people are going to pick them up, and
you'll have no problems.
There won't be any problem with that. So I don't know, man. I just I've been so lucky that the electronics has always held up, Bill, on all of them. I think that we've launched. But I was just a little worried. This one seems a little bit shakier than the other. The other one is pretty solid. This one seems a little shaky. One time today, both of them seemed like they were doing the same thing, and it started me thinking that hey, if both of them are doing it, then it's not a tracker, Yeah,
now I've got a little bit of a concern tomorrow. You're going to be launching those things probably right around the time I take off.
Yeah, we hope.
While we haven't had any documented strikes between a commercial airplane and a balloon, it would be just my luck.
Well, here's
you'll get a good front row seat.
Here's the good part about it.
I'll know what took me down.
Here's the good part about it. If that happens, you know exactly what was going on. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And you might even be able to provide input to the pilot if you see it out there. And be sure and tell him to miss it.
Yeah.
On your right, you will see.
Yeah.
All right. So,
look, it just got sucked into the huge turbojet engine. Let's see what happens.
Now, Glenn, in one of my very first regular latex balloon flights that went up to 100,000 feet, and it came down without a parachute. It ripped the parachute to shreds. So I had a chase plane, and it was flying along with a TV camera looking for the TV transmission, the live video from the camera. Well, the ATV antenna fell off. It was on 70 centimeters, and it was a fast scan television. And all of a sudden, the pilot saying, "Hey, I see video from the balloon." I says, "How is that possible? There's no antenna on the payload. It got ripped off right at balloon burst." And he says, "It's getting stronger. I see a lake and some houses. Hey, I'm flying over that very lake. I see an airplane wing." And it went whoosh. He was seeing it because he didn't need an antenna because it was only 50 feet away from him.
Well, Bill, we had a chase plane when we did that high altitude balloon here back months ago, and they never saw it. Man, they were right. That thing must have come down right beside them. They never saw it.
Well, my friends definitely saw it. They saw it whoosh right by the right wing, and it was coming down pretty fast because it didn't have a parachute. It ended up on. And I had a friend with a helicopter that landed and picked it up.
Well, Bill,
he had Magnum PI's old helicopter from the Magnum PI show.
Oh, okay. So, Bill, I am seeing right now, every 10 minutes, the last 6 decodes. I'm getting the W5 KUB, but the last 6 over there have been GD2 something. How serious does that sound?
Is that on both trackers?
No. Well, I'm not running but just one right now.
Which one is having the issue?
Well, this would be the one that I was going to put on the SBS balloon, a 106.
106.
Yeah.
And it's consistently giving you this GDQ.
Pretty consistent. The last, probably the last 40 to 60 minutes, I'm seeing that GD2, and I am seeing the W5 KUB, but I'm not seeing the QX7 right now. So I don't know.
What is it? Is it always the same call sign? GD whatever.
Let me look and see what I'm seeing here. GD2 RRK, yeah, always the same. GD2 RRK. Now I do see above some QE7s and QA7s, but
so this GDQ RRK, what's the grid square? Is the grid square always the same too?
Yeah, the grid square is FA55.
FA55?
Wait a minute. Yeah, FA55. And see, that concerns me because I'm in FE. I mean, I'm in I'm in DB 55. I'm in DB 55.
Right.
So or Echo Mike. I'm in Echo Mike 55 DB.
So what are they sending?
I'm in Echo Mike 55. They're sending FA55.
Oh, okay. What it probably is you're picking up the advanced communications from the alien invasion.
Oh boy.
So. Well. But you might be able to protect the world with your launches.
Well, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to take a chance and launch it because I've got this thing all packaged up and glued in.
Well, as long as it's giving you the W5 KUB and your regular, it's giving you EM55 on the first transmission, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, we'll know where it is, but just to
we just won't know to a real exact spot. I mean, yeah, we will know. Okay. Now, but that won't plot on the APRS, will it? That wouldn't plot on.
So.
Huh?
I can modify the Python to do that if it really does have a
problem.
Well,
we may have trouble. We may have to do something like that. So.
All right.
I may need your help. I may need your help tomorrow. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. But we hope to launch about 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to launch 2 balloons, guys. This ought to be a fun day. If everything goes right, we're going to launch 2 balloons. We're going to launch an SBS balloon. That's your high-end, high-dollar balloon that's supposed to fly about 42,000 feet. That's where it's going to float. And at the same time, we're going to launch 2 36-inch Chinese balloons that are put together. And they're going to fly roughly 30,000 feet. So we're going to launch them both at the same time. The problem is, at different wind levels, the wind goes different directions. So I would imagine pretty soon, the first little while, 30 minutes or so, I mean, these guys are going to take off and start going different directions. I was hoping they would fly together for a while.
Great. So now I have 2 shots to hit.
You got two shots. One, we're going to fly back probably toward the airport, and one away from the airport, okay? So I was hoping it's going to be fun trying to watch these 2, and hopefully if everything works right over the next days and they stay up here, maybe they will come back close together again, or one, catch up with the other, or they'll fly together like a wingman. But I think in the first hour or 2 they're going to separate pretty good.
So Glenn, when you do your Arduino drones with the dart on the end, the dart tip, you're going to have to program to go in 2 different directions.
Yeah. Well, if I do this, I'm going to build me a rocket launcher, kind of like the Russian Hind helicopter. Multiple launchers, multiple missiles, multiple directions. And I just saw a picture today that one of the fighter jets now has a missile that shoots backwards.
Really?
Well, to take out anything behind. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do an Arduino powered missile launcher.
Well, I just saw, and I don't know if we talked about this or not, but it was in the news. FedEx has asked for permission now to install laser missile protection systems.
And you know why they're doing that?
Why is it?
Because of you and your balloons.
Oh, really? Well, maybe
They got
so.
some way to take them down.
Maybe so.
This is what's been happening when you cross 43,000 feet. You're in the FedEx airspace.
Well, look, hey,
Glenn,
here at
it's
my
better
house,
for the balloons to
here at my
drift
house,
away.
FedEx comes in at 10,000 feet. Okay. Actually, they're probably less than that here at my house. They're probably 6,000 or 4,000.
Oh, I know it. They're the same way here.
Yeah,
I'm on
they're
takeoff
under 10.
pattern.
They're under 10. So we're going to get it above 10,000 feet, and we'll be out of the Memphis Class A airspace real quick.
Go ahead,
With
Charlie.
Charlie?
What did you say,
anyhow,
Charlie?
it's better for them to drift away because if they fly both together in front of your plane tomorrow, one will go into one engine and the other one into the other engine.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm flying out on an A321, so it's only got 2 engines. So Tom will get them both and put me down. You know, maybe I need to fire up APRS on my laptop or something so you can track me.
Yeah. Well, we're going to gas up. We're going to start gassing up about 8 o'clock in the morning. It's going to take us a little extra time because we've got 3 balloons we're going to fill up. 2 will be attached together, 1 separate. Once we get those gassed up and the weight's right and the amount of gas in there, we will then throw all those big hydrogen balloons in the back of my truck. See, Glenn, hey, we may not even make it to the launch site. You may not have to worry, man.
But I'm not going to tell the pilot to wait on you, okay? We're rolling at 9:45.
Are you? Okay. Well,
and I'm going to tell him to hurry.
Well, 9:45 has been a launch time for us.
I know
we're trying to get a little bit earlier this time, and I've got some help coming over, and so it's going to take with 2 launches. It's going to take 6 to 8 hands to do everything.
All I know is I'm going to be in the reasonably warm weather tomorrow, and I'm going to be on the beach on Thursday.
Well, all right. Well, I want you to have a good time down here, and you're our reporter.
I need this break.
All right. So,
by the way, Tom, you mentioned different cats, and I just found these, and these these hats I get every year for launching balloons at the Dayton Hamvention.
Yeah.
Oh, very
They give
cool.
these out to the volunteers.
Okay. Cool.
And they're kind of rare, but they really nicely made hats. I forget which one was the last Hamvention. Whether I think it might have been this one, but every year it's a different color combination. But I've got a whole collection of these.
Very cool.
All right. Well, Bill, I'm worried. I'm worried that it ain't gonna work tomorrow.
It'll work at least halfway.
Yeah, you just won't get the extended telemetry.
I'm thinking about moving the suspect tracker over to the Chinese balloons and moving the other tracker to the SBS. Now, I don't know why. I don't even know if that's worth doing.
Well,
you really don't want my input on this one.
It'll be close enough for government work there, Tom.
Okay. All right. As long as we can.
I was going to say, if you want it to come back, put it on the SBS because you haven't cleared 43,000 feet yet.
Yeah. Well, we have on other flights. It's just we've had bad luck the last 3 at that particular altitude.
Yeah.
And in fact, Glenn, if I was you, if you see your pilot tomorrow, I'd tell him to avoid 43,000 feet. That you have information.
Yeah.
You have scientific information that tells him that that's not a good place to be.
Well, I got really bad news for you. I'm going to be knee deep into a handful of CQ magazines that Rich sent me the PDF for. So I'm not even going to be looking out the window.
I have a whole pile of them I got in my barn in Ohio. So if you want the paper copies, I can pick you up.
I got rid of probably several hundred big stacks of CQ and QST a while back. And I just looked in my closet this week. I've got stacks of them on the floor in there in my closet, man. I thought I got rid of all of them.
I've got every issue of 73 magazine back to the very first one. When I worked at 73, he had every back issue in this big storage area.
But you know, they actually have a CD of those you can buy now for about $8.
I mean, it takes up so much room.
Yeah.
That I may have to just give it up.
A lot of those are online. You can find them. They're online right now.
Yeah, I think they're all online. The one thing that some of them are online now, but 73 magazine had a little newsletter, newsprint. It was a tabloid. It's called Radio Fun. Did you ever hear of that one? Well, when I worked at 73 in 1990 through 1992, the last December issue of 92 was my last issue. I was there 3 years. Wayne decided to start this beginners magazine called Radio Fun. And so I was the guy that put that together. I was the managing editor of both 73 and Radio Fun.
Wow.
He didn't up my salary any, but I found every issue of Radio Fun in the barn, and if there are missing ones on those archive sites, I'm going to scan a few in, because we had quite a nice selection of articles in there.
Oh, I loved 73 back in the day. You had 73 and Byte magazine, and
right.
Oh man, I got those every month, man. I loved them.
Byte magazine was originally supposed to be BITE, and his idea was to make it a restaurant review magazine. And his editor of 73 at the time said, computers are going to be very popular, personal computers. Why don't we just change that one letter and call it BYTE and write about computers? So that's how Byte came about.
Yeah. I mean, I love that magazine. That was absolutely, the top of the world back then.
I wrote a column for Byte magazine. Back in
Well, so we anybody new in the Zoom link? We had several people connected in earlier. Anybody first timers here with us? Let's see who else up here. Looks like all the old pros are here. I see Brent. And
say hello to David K04RTN, Tom.
Is he there?
RNT.
Yeah, he gave a peace sign, so I guess he's new.
All right. Yeah, I see David here. I've seen that call before, David. Welcome.
I'm new. Mark Cody, VE3LJQ.
Okay.
Welcome.
All right.
Where are you located at, Mark?
About 60 miles northeast of Toronto. It's a farming township called Selwyn.
Oh, I used to go to a lake up there years ago when I was a kid, Peterborough area.
Yeah, well, I'm on Chemung Lake, which is just north of Peterborough.
Yeah, that's where we would camp. It was a great spot.
Very weedy these days.
Oh, I bet. But no, we would camp at, I'm not sure the exact lake, but it might have been that one, but it was near Peterborough.
Yeah, well, Chemung's part of the Trent-Severn waterway, so there's a number of lakes that are linked in.
It's a beautiful area.
Yeah, it's God's country.
And good fishing, too.
Yeah, especially walleye.
Oh, walleye is one of my favorite. We get walleye from Lake Erie quite a bit. When I was up in Ohio this past 2 months, every Friday night, my local little mom and pop restaurant would serve a walleye special that he got from Lake Erie, and man, that's good.
Hey, I saw some on the news. One of the lakes up there, that people were out on it, and a big chunk of it broke off and floated off with them on it. Did you see that?
I believe that was Lake Erie.
Yeah. Oh man.
My cousin used to go out we'd drive out to a little ice shack that he had out there for fishing when the ice got really thick, but he kept the windows down even though it was about 5 above zero, And he says, "Why do you keep the windows down?" He says, "I've seen too many of these go in." He told us that once we were about 3 miles off of shore. And he had a black Labrador, and well, actually, one of his friends had a black lab, and they were in this ice shack fishing, and there was another shack next to theirs about 10 feet away, and a couple of more out there. And he caught a fish. The fish comes out of the hole, but it fell off and went back into the hole that he cut in the ice. Well, his Labrador went in after it and couldn't get back up. And he was just devastated. And, you know, he was beside himself, you know. And all of a sudden he heard this great commotion in the shack right next to him. And he opened the door, and two guys, the door burst open, and two guys run terrified out of the shack. And this very wet black Labrador was chasing them. Apparently they had been fishing, and this big black furry thing comes out of the hole.
Dear Lord. Yeah, I'd be bursting out of that thing and running for cover too.
Oh.
That's the last thing you expect to come up from one of those holes.
Exactly.
You know, all you need is the music for Jaws, and you got it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of ice fishing huts on Chemung Lake, and but I think there's more drinking going on than actual fishing.
Well, I think the guys.
Isn't that just about any fishing trip, though?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
That's
guys,
anything that involves any male in sports.
I believe the guys that were in that ice shack when the Labrador came out, I think they were drinking heavily, so that added to the effect.
I could just picture this happening. And yeah, I would be definitely having to change my underwear 2 or 3 times.
So somebody asked if we're gonna live webcast the launch tomorrow. No, we won't. It's just too much trouble. The launch it's gonna be fast. Once we walk out there, it's gonna go fast. We need all the hands we can have with these 2 balloons and the 2 trackers and the fine antennas, and but we will get a recording of it, and I'll post it on the Facebook group as soon as we, pretty soon after we get back, maybe about 9:30 in the morning, we'll have it posted there. Again, our seasoned flight guys there, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and then our new team, Larry, Daryl, and his other brother Daryl, will be flying the Chinese balloon. So it should be exciting tomorrow. So everybody watch your Facebook group for updates, and you can check it out. You can check the flights out on w5kub.com. Click on balloon in the menu, and it will. I've got various links for tracking the balloons. The first link there, you click on it, it'll actually take you to APRS, and it should track both balloons at the same time on the same map. So that might be fun to watch. It's
going to be interesting, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me make an announcement. You're listening to Amateur Radio Roundtable. This is the show after the show, actually. We're talking about ham radio, amateur radio, shortwave listening, and things like that. And if you're listening out there on shortwave, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to tom@w5kub.com. And again, while I'm at it, everybody please hit the subscribe button. It should be right down there where the little arrow's pointing. Subscribe. We need you to subscribe. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm getting a little hungry, man. I think popcorn tonight.
Got a quick question, Tom.
What was that?
Got a quick question there, Tom. It's Colin.
Oh, hey, Colin. Go ahead.
Just wondering, just wondering how many of you guys have actually spoken to Dr. Luis in Panama. He was on the radio last night, our time, He's now running a 40-meter hex beam at 140 feet. So was definitely getting out. Well, it must be to get to Australia. It was speaking to quite a few Australians last night. But just wondering how you guys go for talking to him on 40 meters.
All right, now, Colin, it's not your accent, but I was having problems. You were kind of crackling and breaking up a little bit. Bill, you and Glenn, did y'all catch all that? I heard him talking about a 40-meter.
Apparently, there was a station in Panama with a 140-foot high hex beam.
Oh, okay, all right. Maybe we'll get that's down in Panama. Okay.
40-meter hex beam at 140 feet.
Well, that's pretty good. You know, the hex.
That's a big beam.
You know, the hex beam. I guess I was thinking of the cobweb. The cobweb. Actually, the cobweb antenna. We did some testing with it. It does not have to be very high to work effectively. But I don't know about the beam antenna. It probably needs to be up a good little ways.
Oh, well, I have to tell you, I need to rebuild my cobweb. It was a victim of the ice storm.
Oh, yeah?
Oh.
Well, let me rephrase that. It was a victim of the 8-inch thick pine tree limbs that came down during the ice storm.
Oh, yeah. Well.
So I'm going to have to restring it.
When I was a teenager, I built a 3-element cubicle quad with the fiberglass poles. And it was a tri-bander, and the thing was massive, and it worked great. I mean, I could hear things. The band would stay open longer than anybody else that had a traditional Yagi. I loved that big 3-element quad. But one day we got an ice storm and had about a ½ inch of ice on it, and all of those fiberglass poles were bowed in. So I decided to rotate the antenna into the wind so that they would unbow and crack the ice off. Well, I rotated the antenna. The fiberglass poles did exactly what I thought it would, but it snapped all the poles off.
Great a jibe.
Completely destroying my beam, my quad. And I got mad, and there's a little hole in the wood siding near the window where I was looking at all this transpiring. And I just found that hole. It was covered up by, just a wall hanging, but there's still a hole in the wall in my dad's house.
You should have run full illegal power to heat up the elements. So
that's what I should have done, yes.
Yeah.
It'd be like Josh Nass with his Christmas lights. I don't know if anyone saw the webcast where he blew out his Christmas lights with his
Oh, Lord.
What I should have done is plugged my coax into the wall socket, and then it would have glowed cherry red. Yeah. I saw a fellow in Russia with a YouTube, and he was showing how to make inexpensive Christmas tree lights, and he took some zip cord, tied one end together, draped it around his window, and plugged it in. And he also bypassed the fuse on the outside of the main breaker. He put a big, I think it was a regular pull-out fuse, and he put a big bolt in there so that it was going to handle the current. And that wire turned cherry red, and you could see a nice decoration around his window frame. Until it caught it on fire, but
yeah, I was going to say just briefly until the house no longer is there.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah.
There are many interesting Russian and Ukrainian videos on YouTube. Like there are some guys there that go to Chernobyl and Pripyat, and they play with radioactive stuff, and like these guys are crazy, and I don't know, they like to do that. So I don't know. You see many strange things on YouTube.
What's the guy that he demonstrates an electronic principle, and he's doing a circuit.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see
Electroboom.
Park.
Electroboom.
Yes.
Electroboom, but that's scripted, you know.
Oh, of course, but I love it.
But you know what? I've tried contacting him multiple times to get him on the show, and I can never get a response from him.
He's really good.
Yeah, I wish he would answer us.
These are guys, these Russian guys, there's nothing scripted. They go there and there's radioactive stuff and they play with it. They are.
Yeah.
No, I'm not into glowing in the dark. Thank you very much.
I found another radioactive thing. Started with this a thread in Twitter that Alan started with his, it's not the ESR, it's the leakage tester that he put a very nice instrument. And then I said, I used that instrument for I have another one here. This one. I used that instrument for my ESR meter that I did many years ago based on his video too. Mm-hmm. And I showed this, which is the instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody in the thread there in Twitter said, but that's radioactive. And I said, but it doesn't glow in the dark. And he said, no, it's because
radium,
the fluorescent stuff decays with the radioactivity. So for first years, it glows in the dark, but then becomes this yellowish. So you can see the marks there that are yellow, like yellow.
Right. Yeah,
those are radioactive, and I put the meter there, the counter, and it's radioactive. So this is.
You need to keep that away from spiders and make sure you don't get bit by those spiders.
Yeah.
Now the other thing is, if you have Corel ware that's orange from the 1940s, and you put a Geiger counter on it, it will peg the Geiger counter because they made the orange dye out of uranium.
Now, which wire?
Corel ware. It's a not wire. It's a plate. It's a dishware. A dish.
Oh my gosh! I have an orange Corel, but I don't think it's 40s.
Yeah, it has to be older. Fiesta.
Check the back of that plate there, Glenn.
I'm gonna have to now.
I have to take the counter to my dad's house because there's a lot of colored ware, colored.
It's called Fiesta ware is the ones on it.
Yeah. And I have to check.
This. I found this. This is my childhood bank. It's
God,
Mr. Peanut! Yay!
This is from 1962, and it glows in the dark. And I'm not sure why it glows in the dark, but this could be one of those Chernobyl things going on right
now.
Yeah.
I have other things that glow in the dark, and they are not radioactive. So I don't think maybe.
I hope that's the case with this one.
I don't know. Back in '62, I mean, all the Timex watches had the radium dials, and everything was radium, and so the odds are not good that Mr. Peanut is safe.
There were radioactive.
I'm going to charge it up here and see if it works. I just found this in my closet in Ohio.
I mean, when you stop and think of the things that we survived, we were definitely somebody's, test subject for the 60s and 70s.
There were like kits. You had instead of chemistry kits, you had radioactive kits.
Oh man, I had the chemistry set. Oh dear gosh, yeah.
I found my 1962 chemistry set. There were real chemicals in there.
There was.
We had some serious stuff in
my
there.
aunt said
do some serious stuff with that.
Yeah.
Rocket fuel, firecrackers, you name it, you could do it.
Well, my aunt was a registered nurse, and she read some of them chemicals, and she said to my mother, "You get rid of this, you get rid of that, you get."
Oh yeah.
I
mean, heck, but back then that you had replacement chemicals on the shelf at the drugstore.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna
Go
say
there
that.
and pick some more up.
You could go into the drugstore and get all the ingredients in boxes for gunpowder.
Yeah.
Why they were there available, I don't know what they used all that stuff for, but you could easily buy it. Big boxes of the stuff. And then I used to order stuff from Wumco Chemical for I had to sign that I was 16 even though I was 14. I just put my allowance money in it, and a few days later I got big boxes of all kinds of chemicals. Nowadays, if I tried to do that, Homeland Security would drag me away.
I'm flying with an Arduino tomorrow, and I'm thoroughly convinced I'm going to get the extra search treatment.
You know those high-power green lasers? A friend of mine built one into a pen, just an ink pen, and you click one end of it, and you've got this high-powered green laser that can temporarily blind people. That he actually made it as a product to temporarily blind an attacker. It doesn't do permanent damage at that frequency of the laser light, but he went through airport security, and he had to put, of course, the pin into the tray, and the agent picks it up and starts clicking the thing towards his face. He thought, sure, he was going to end up.
There's a Men in Black moment for you.
Uh-huh.
It's flashing.
Well, you put everything in a bag. I put my radio. I disconnect the antenna, the battery, and everything, and it's in this sheer tight bag. Okay, and I put that separate in that little box there that they want everything to go through. And I tell them, I says, it's an amateur radio transmitter. There's my license. And, I'm taking this with me. And I says, as you can see, it's not going to be used on the plane and da-da-da-da-da. And
back in the 80s, I actually flew with an Atlas 210X transceiver all the way to Minneapolis because I was going to be up there in an apartment for 3 weeks for training. And so I brought the Atlas with me and threw a long wire out the 6-story window and operated that way. But yeah, I mean, that's a 20-pound radio.
Now I would carry my HT with me onto airplanes many years ago. And man, I talked to one of my friends for 250 miles just with the HT in the window of the jet. It was amazing. The coverage rate was phenomenal. Nowadays, of course, they wouldn't allow you to do that, but I actually had permission from the pilot.
You can't even take a damn screwdriver with you. I swear to God, TSA. No, I'm just saying, TSA. They said, well, you have to have permission to bring that. I go, I'm an amateur radio operator.
Nope.
I says, there is a radio. I says, there's a power supply. There's an antenna, and this, that, and the other, in that bag right there. I says, and I'm carrying that with me on the plane.
Well, you know how they have.
Well, they thought I was going to take the plane apart because I had a screwdriver and a hex wrench and this, that, and the other. Yeah. And I just looked at the guy and he said,
actually, the TSA rule is 6-inch screwdriver. Smaller than 6 inches is allowed.
Now, it was one of those many things there that.
But it's also subject to their interpretation, and you're dealing with government employees, so you're not going to get a good interpretation.
My carry-on had a fingernail clipper with one of those little files.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they broke that off. They said you can't carry that file onto the plane.
Well, I have one of those little miniature Leatherman tools, and I've realized that thing has a knife blade on it. That was in my laptop bag, and fortunately, I pulled that out. But I guarantee you, that would never have made it.
Now, I had a friend who was a pilot for Southwest, and he would take the HF radio on the plane and tune it to 20 meters. And when I worked at 73 magazines, I would talk to him a lot. And boy, he had a booming signal.
Oh gosh, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's the tool they'll allow on the plane because they can't find a blade on it. This is a Leatherman tread bracelet, and it has all of these little wrenches built into it. You can see the little X-shaped holes, so you can actually take the plane apart with this.
Yeah, well, tools are fine. It's anything that's bladey or pointy that they don't allow.
And they'll also allow this little Leatherman on the plane because it doesn't have a knife blade.
Yeah, if it had the knife blade, you'd be out of luck. But
here's the thing: it has a pair of scissors on it. They allow scissors, and
it has to be under 4 inches.
Yeah, a scissor is nothing but 2 knives.
Trust me, I have memorized the TSA list now.
So they won't allow 1 knife on the plane, but they'll allow 2 knives that are together.
When I found out that I was going to be flying with an Arduino, I scoured the TSA website to memorize it. And,
the problem for flying with an Arduino is that now you have a precious semiconductor microchip there that is nowhere to be found on Earth.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah,
you're taking jewelry with you, not.
Well, I was asked to bring it for a very special purpose, so I'm like, okay, sure. Because I get a benefit out of this. It's going to be taken back and looked over. It's not just the Arduino, it's a product. And they want to do some mods with it. And they're going to ship it back to me. But they also said, if you will do this, since we have discounts on shipping and stuff, anything you buy, we'll be glad to ship. You know, we're driving, so when we take it home, we'll be glad to ship it to you. So now I can buy whatever I want to at Orlando, and it's going to get shipped to me. Yes, I will bring my Arduino to you for shipping. I win.
Here are some
lots of rigs and antennas.
What you got there, Brett?
These are Arduino chips. These are the chips that the Arduino is
the 328.
Hey,
yes.
I need some of those. Put them in envelopes. Send them to me.
Tom is using in his little board and his balloon.
Yeah.
Yes.
I use them in my tracker too, and I can't find them. They say that they'll be available in 2023 in Mauser and DigiKey.
Let me tell you something.
If you want a few, I could send you a couple.
I have some. So
I had an interesting.
Brett, look me up if you don't mind. Send me 2 or 3 if you can spare them. I need a few. I've got 2 or 3, but I got them from China, and I think they're all bad.
Yeah, you never know on those.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. It's not just chips. I have a issue where I need to buy a new inkjet printer, and I found the one I wanted. And I went to Office Max. They had the display model. They do not have any printers in stock.
They have
worth
chips,
a darn.
They have chips inside of them. So
I went to Best Buy.
Yeah.
And have you seen that? Best Buy's got those racks and shelves on the wall.
Yep.
They're bare.
Yeah.
They're down to a handful of stuff. One good, President's Day sale, and they can be cleaned out of inventory completely. I didn't get the printer. They just did not. There's not one of these printers in stock, and it's a current production printer.
All right, stand by just a second. Stand by. Hang on just a second. Our time is up for our shortwave show. I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in on WBCQ and joining us tonight. This is Amateur Radio Roundtable. Thanks for being with us. Join us next Tuesday. If you want to join us on the web, you can go to w5kub.com, 8 p.m. Central. That'll be 0200 UTC Wednesday. Thank you and good night.
Hey, by the way, I just tested Mr. Peanut in the dark, and it still glows.
Oh, wow.
Not as much as it did in the 60s, but it still has a bit of a glow in it.
Yeah.
It's probably achieved its half-life by now.
Yeah, that's really scary, though, when you stop and think about everything that we had in the 60s that they didn't really get back around to telling us was bad for us. It's kind of like
what didn't kill us made us stronger, Glenn.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, shoot, we rode bicycles without helmets. We ate
right.
sand.
Hey, we drank out of a garden hose. We rode the back of a truck. You know, we didn't have seatbelts.
No. Hey, we're alive, damn it! We're alive.
They may. You know what? You know what, Glenn? They need to make a country song out of that. In fact, there is a country song.
I'm sure there's a country song. I ate mud and I survived.
Pretty good country song, just exactly about that. You drinking out of a hose, and we didn't wear a helmet, and you know. Oh man, it goes on and on. I have to find
My dad used to shoot his .22 rifle when he was a kid up in the air to see if he could hear the bullet land next to him. I said, "You won't hear the one that hits you."
Oh man.
The things we did and survived. You know, I mean, it was Darwinism to the absolute max.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, give it a try.
Yeah, yeah. Here, hold my beer. Or of course, back then it was here, hold my Kool-Aid.
It's if you hear somebody say, "Hey, y'all, watch this," that might be their last words.
Right. You might want to get the heck out of there.
Yep.
All right.
Keep a safe distance.
All right. So, hey guys, our time is up. I need to go get a bite to eat, and I need to go. I need to go to bed early because I got to get up early and get ready to gas these things up and get a launch tomorrow. And Bill, I'm thinking I'm going to switch the trackers on those balloons. I don't know why.
Well, they're the same weight, so I guess it doesn't matter.
I'll be looking for you at 9:30.
All right, very good. And hey, Bill, if you can get your Python script running, that might help in case mine goes off or something.
I'll use your calibration factors that you came up with.
I'm not too worried about if I switch them. Let me think. If I switch them, you'll have to switch the numbers, but it won't make any difference. I'm not too concerned about the voltage right now. I'm just more concerned. Oh man, I don't know. Hey, Bill, when you get time, a busy guy, check out those 336Hs and tell me what we have to do. I built up a tracker with a 336H in it, and I'm getting the lock light flashing, but it's not doing anything. I can put the constant carrier software in, and it does constant carrier, so I know my oscillator and everything's working, the transmitter's working. So,
what is it transmitting? Is it sending NMEA GPS strings or binary or
what are you talking about? The
actual data coming out of it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I've got it built up on a tracker, and whatever it's supposed to be transmitting whatever it's supposed to be transmitting.
You can test that by tapping the serial line off of it and running it through one of those serial converters. To your computer.
I don't have one. All I can do is watch the LED flash every 1 second.
Okay, let me play. I have a little dev board for that.
I'm told somebody told me that it's a direct drop-in replacement. I don't know. I'm thinking in your firmware, don't you have to point stuff at stuff by name? And if it has a different name, would it not go to it? Or
no, it's I just look at the serial port.
Is that right? Okay.
But it depends on how you set up the baud rate. The baud rate might be what the issue is. So see what the baud rate is that you're setting up.
Well, that's in your firmware, right?
First of all, sending commands to it to set up the strings, the output is going to be different from what you send to the U-block, probably. But I don't know. I'll just take a look.
Yeah, just take a look at it. The pinouts look identical. I sent you a picture of the two pinouts. They're the same pins, but I don't know, man. Okay, all right.
Well, I'll see what the default is when you first power it up if you don't send it any commands.
Yeah, and I'd be concerned too about the altitude, the high altitude, whether it's on or off.
I don't think on that particular one that you have to send any commands for, like the U blocks, where you have to send it to.
Now, Michael says he's been using these chips for all his flights now, and I sent you a link. He said you might want to look at my, I don't know, I guess a link to his
if I get time, and time is at
no hurry right now, no hurry.
But I'll look at his firmware and see, and I've got one I can wire up and see what it puts out when it just powers up. Because I have to send commands to the U-blocks to send it to the right baud rate and the right sentences that I want to look at, and the rate that they send it. There's a series of commands I send, so I have to figure out what those commands are with that ATGM.
Okay, and hey, Brett, is he still here? Yeah, he's still here. Hey, if you have a few extra of the 328Ps there, you're not really using them for any project, put me a couple in an envelope. I'm good in QRZ, and tell me how much, and I'll send you some money.
I was gonna. Well, no problem. I was gonna ask you if your QRZ address was.
I'm good, dear. I'm good.
Okay.
All right, guys. Good night.
Charlie.
Good night.
A question.
Yeah.
Those U-block chipsets.
Yeah.
Those you when you configure all the parameters with the software, they are saved inside the chipset, right? They are burned inside the chipset?
Right.
No. No. You have to send it when you first power up your tracker, because they don't have a static RAM or a way of. They don't have an EEPROM where you can.
Oh, I thought he was. I mean, they're stored, of course, in the 328P, but not in the.
No, the U-blocks itself.
GPS
You
itself.
have to send the commands when you first power it up.
Yeah.
Or the biggest issue that people run into is that the altitude limit for pedestrian, car mode, automobile mode, the peak altitude stops at 40,000 feet. You had to set it up for airborne mode.
Let's say if you're driving over 40,000 feet, you definitely are not on this planet.
Well, they figured not many people are going to be hiking or driving any higher than Mount Everest.
Right. That's only 29,000 feet. So, they gave you 12,000 feet, in case you're a good jumper, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, the Delorme InReach, which was a little communicator that uses the Iridium satellite network to communicate anywhere in the world, and you could send different messages with it. Their GPS stopped at 29,028 feet. And I said, why? I couldn't figure that out because it's not a byte boundary.
No, that's a number I've known my entire life.
And so I called the Delorme chief engineer for the InReach, and I had a nice little chat with him, and I says, so why is it doing that? And he says, we didn't think it's designed for hikers. We didn't think any hiker would be going any higher than Mount Everest.
Yeah. hey, Glenn, one of our balloons went near or over Mount Everest at about 30,000 feet, man.
Wow. It scraped on by.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably left a little track in the snow.
That's right. If the antenna was a little longer, somebody could have grabbed it,
The ants left a little track in the snow as they saw that thing coming.
Yeah.
That limit of height doesn't have to be about the modes you have, that you can go fast speed, but not very high, or lower speed and higher. That's for not using it as a ballistic.
Right.
I don't think they want you putting it in rockets.
A guided missile or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a speed limit when you're above 60,000 feet. There's a speed limit that won't work at it. It's or. Now, some companies, if you're above either limit, it'll stop. They misinterpreted the rule. It's called the COCOM limit. But the way they should do it is if it's one or the other. It has to be if you're above 60,000 feet and you're going 600 miles per hour, then it shouldn't work.
Yeah.
Unless you have the military version.
I have another question, Bill, for you. Do you have any problems with the stability of the clocks? What clocks are you using for the Whisper beacons?
Yes. the reference oscillator for the chipset, you have to have a temperature controlled. I use a temperature controlled crystal oscillator or a temperature controlled voltage controlled temperature oscillator. The voltage allows you to do a fine adjust of the frequency. Yes. And actually, I use the voltage control to direct FM modulate when I'm using it for 2 meters for APRS. I want an FM transmitter, so I just run the audio right into the voltage control pin, and I have to adjust that level to get the right deviation. But just for whisper, you can use a TCXO, but it has to be one of those little tiny surface mount ones that you cannot hand solder. And they're not very expensive, and they only draw about 2 milliamps. But they've got a little heater in there, and they maintain that stability. You cannot.
So it's not temperature compensated. It's temperature. It's like an oven control.
Yeah, they have a heater in them. Yeah.
So it's an oven control crystal oscillator. It's not a temperature compensator.
Well, they call it a TCXO.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, so we had to put new instruments. Right now, the jet streams are doing over 200 miles an hour up there. So we're hoping that we can exceed 200 miles an hour. So we put new instruments in for our next flight, and we're hoping to get in ludicrous speed.
Hey, you might get up to the red line there.
Yeah. I think I saw a 280 once. On the map.
Well, just you need a camera on the ants so we can see their cheeks all zoomed out as they're going into the wind.
You know what comes after that? Plaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, plaid comes after that, man. We've gone plaid.
All right, I'm out of here, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, I got to go too.
Night,
we'll
Glenn.
see you later, guys. Everybody had a good time tonight. Take me through,
Just
everybody.
a quick finish with Charlie. You don't want your whisper transmission to drift more than 4 hertz over a 2-minute period of time.
Okay,
It'll handle 4 hertz and less.
So you need at least a 0.01 ppm stability.
You want it to be, I had to search several TCXOs before I got one stable enough. And the way I do it is I just test it in my freezer. And
maybe that's the problem that Tom is having, that the clock is drifting or something.
Well, it's just on.
Probably not that much because it's room temperature. He wouldn't see that much.
Well, we do 2 different data transmissions. The first data transmission is correct. The second data transmission is the one that I think is wrong.
Broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his chip, his reference oscillator with that SI5351A synthesizer, that combination that he's using is very stable. Even during flight, when the payload is spinning, so that the sun is heating it up, and then it's not. Can be a fairly significant temperature difference. I haven't. Just watching Tom's flights and how much drift during the flight, it doesn't drift more than about 2 hertz to 3 hertz max, even under the worst case conditions. So it's pretty stable.
So it's okay.
But at room temperature, it'd be very, very stable. So yeah.
Okay. So it's a problem of software. Software eventually works. Hardware eventually fails.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to make a T-shirt on that. Charles.
Yeah, that's really good.
All right. Good night, everybody. I'm gone. Good night.
Consider
Bye-bye.
I do both of those for NASA for the big rocket, and I do the avionics and the flight software, and I'm going to mention that to them.